back when disability activist Anna Landre was presented with a prestigious Freedom of the City award for her campaigning achievements, her elation turned to anger and then almost to tears as she was denied the chance to collect her award on stage.
It beggars belief. Instead, Anna had to accept it by the stairs, as she says the organisers didn't offer her an accessible ramp for her wheelchair. The City of London Corporation have apologised to Anna and said they're taking an urgent review to ensure accessibility at their buildings, facilities and events. It's all a bit too little too late, isn't it, Anna? Good morning to you. And firstly, a huge congratulations.
Thank you so much.
You know, that's what we really want to be talking about, is all your campaigning and the brilliant stuff and getting the freedom of the city. And you must have been so excited to go to that event.
I really was, and you know, it had been built up so much. I did a whole program leading up to it to learn about the city and its history and its roots, and I was constantly asking questions about the role of us, of disabled people within it. And so to come to that culmination and for them to think I was worthy of the freedom of the city, but not of the stage.
At what point did
really
you...
ironic.
So you arrived and presumably there was sort of a dinner or you were sitting around until... and everybody's there?
Yes.
And then at what point did you realise that this was a problem or that it wasn't... they hadn't thought about you getting on stage?
Well, there was a lovely reception and then they took us into the ceremony room and sat us all down, and right before it started, they said to me, and by the way, there's no ramp to the stage. You'll just come up right here and receive your award. And I was just kind of sat there in shock because as a disabled person, every time this happens, because it happens so often, you're like, all right, how do I handle this? Do I leave? Do I make a scene? Do I negotiate with someone? But by then the ceremony had started and I just was out of luck.
I mean, I find that absolutely disgraceful, mind-blowing for a start that they hadn't... but first of all, I think there might be legal provision, but more about that in due course.
Yes,
you know
pro bono. I'll talk to you after the show.
I'm horrified by this story.
Thank you.
But, you know, my horror or the law, all of that aside, you know, I'm not somebody that experiences or lives with a disability. What does that feel like in that moment? And it's not just about you, because it's part of your campaigning for the dignity of people who, on planes in various parts of our country, living daily lives, don't have basic access to things. What's that like? What does that do to you?
Well, 24% of Britons have some sort of disability, and about half of them have a mobility disability. So we're talking about a huge portion of the population. And it just feels, as you said, the word dignity, it turns what should be an honor and a celebration into indignity. And it happens so often. As you said, there is a law. We've had it's been 29 years since the Disability Discrimination Act, 14 or 15 since the Equality Act. So you have to ask yourself, why is this still happening? And there are campaigners like me trying to work towards it every day.
And Anna, so can I just ask, at this event, was it just you getting an award or were there others as well?
No, it was a group of us.
Did anybody get to go on?
Yes.
Onto stage.
Everyone except me did.
This is the point.
Yes.
It's like, so essentially, it's so that everybody else gets to go up to stage, and then it's almost like, people like, the reason there's a stage is so everybody in the room can see you, right? And so then not everybody in the room can even see you getting your award. And
exactly.
It's just the whole thing is so, and I think it's what you said there is that. What do you do? We've had Frank Gardner, the BBC's defence correspondent, on here a lot. We've had lots of other campaigners on the show who say, you're in public, you don't want to ruin everybody else's evening by causing a fuss, but then you're thinking, well, if I don't cause a fuss, what if this happens to the next person? Or it happens to a child who's still getting... You know, there's all this going on in your head when you're just meant to be going, yay me, I'm amazing, you know?
It is, and essentially, all of these situations mean that it's on disabled people to enforce the law. Government is completely absent from enforcing the Equality Act. The only mechanism within it for enforcement is for someone to do a civil lawsuit. So I have to sue.
Right.
And that's not something anyone wants.
Nobody wants to sue, right?
You have to ask, where are the enforcement mechanisms? And as someone who's a researcher and campaigner in this area, there are so many policy levers we could pull.
Can we just help us with other examples? Because there have been people out there going, like, this is an award. I mean, you're an extremely bright person that's campaigned. I think you have a PhD and various other things.
Thank you.
OK, now, here's the thing. For people that are not out there campaigning in the vanguard like you,
Yes.
and we're talking about people, for example, who are on planes, right, who are not able to get to the loo,
Yes.
who have had to physically move themselves during that flight. Could you just help us with some examples like that?
Yeah,
the lived experiences of people who have disabilities.
Certainly airplane accessibility is one of them. We saw the amazing Channel 4 documentary on that come out just a few days ago. I get denied access to boarding a bus about once a month. I have issues with getting train assistance, probably around once a week.
Right.
The ORR has found that 15% of booked train assistance is not carried out at all or carried out insufficiently.
And your
this
point
is so common.
And if you're trying to catch if you're trying to catch another train, you know, you're trying to get somewhere for a reason. You know, you've got a connection to get. You know, you've got 15 minutes to get from one platform to the other. I mean, it's just, it's...
Well, imagine you're a commuter who commutes to work 5 days a week, as many do. That means you're having an assistance fail at least twice a week.
You call it an assistant fail, but it's actually just access to basic services that everybody's entitled to, right?
Yes. And what that assistance fail means on a personal level is that I go to a station staff member, I ask for the ramp, and either I'm told, no, we're too busy, no, you have to wait, and everyone else is boarding the train, and you get into this personal confrontation, and it takes so much out of you when it's left to disabled people to enforce the law.
Right.
Well, the City of London Corporation have apologised to you, Anna, haven't they? And they have said, and I quote, they are fully committed to equity, diversity and inclusion and are making every effort to ensure that this doesn't happen again. They're undertaking an urgent review, as I said earlier, to ensure accessibility at their building facilities and events. Does that, in a way, look, if it was going to happen to anyone, it happened to you, right?
Yeah.
So then, you know, you've got broad shoulders and you can carry this stuff and you sort of make it your life's work. I suppose, in a way, it highlights the whole point of why you need to keep doing what you're doing.
My last question is, would you like to be part of that review? What's your message to them? And frankly, you know, lawmakers out there to say, well, there's no punishment for people that don't provide basic services for people like you.
Well, I am in touch with them. I let them know that I was grateful for their apology. We don't often get those. You don't often get a basic taking responsibility for the issue. I've since been told by other disabled people working within the City of London that there is an access board with an access chair, and all of those positions, including the chair, are volunteer.
Right.
So I think I would take issue with their assertion that they make access and inclusion a priority.
Well, you can have that conversation. Yeah, you're going to have to keep having that conversation. Well, Anna, listen, congratulations on getting the freedom of the city. Hugely deserved, and we applaud you.
Thank you.
Yeah, lovely to have you on the show.
Thanks very much.